how to overcome social anxiety, specifically fear of being misunderstood by a certain group of people, someone specific to you, like your relationship, or it could be just general anxiety to be among crowds of people and having this fear of being misunderstood. Whatever I share in my lives, in my content, it all is coming from application, right? Because I truly believe that you cannot claim to have learned something unless you have experienced things for yourself. Okay, you don't learn things by reading stuff in a book, by sitting through a training program or lectures. You learn things. If you look at your own life, you can only claim that you know something because you've applied it, you've tested it for yourself. So I say this, it's easy to listen to this video and let it go, but test it for yourself. Okay, see what this means for yourself. And so here it is. You can use a premise. A premise is nothing but an assumption, right? I can't claim it to be like gravity, like a law of the nature, but it is an assumption that you can test out and see if it works. Why is assumption so important? Because, hey, most, if not all, of the scientific theories begin with an assumption and then they go on to prove it, right? With their equations and their testings. Same thing with this. Test it for yourself. The assumption that I'm going to give you right now to overcome your social anxiety is this. When you're meeting someone new or when you're meeting the people who seem to misunderstand you, in your heart, assume that they can read everything that you have in your heart. They can read all of your thoughts. Every wisp of thought, they can pick up on that. Now, just imagine that you're talking to someone and you know that they can read everything that's going on in here and in here. What kind of thoughts would you entertain? What kind of feelings would you entertain? Would you have those thoughts that are not helpful to the conversation, or would you have the best intentions and the best feelings and thoughts for the other person? Because they can see everything. You will notice that there is a shift in the way you think and feel every time you connect with someone. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, deep down, all of us want something positive for the other person and for ourselves, right? The reason why we don't feel as positive always is because of the things that we haven't dealt with inside ourselves, right? You might feel that this premise is far out and it just sounds so woo-woo, but hear me out. If you look at a dog, and you can try this for yourself, test it. If you look at a dog and you don't have to say anything to the dog, you don't have to do anything, just in your heart's language, say the words good dog. And feel the feelings that comes with that word when you look at that dog, good dog. If you like dogs, if you do that, you'll observe that the dog will be drawn to you without you doing anything towards that dog. Now, if a dog that is sentient, that is intelligent, but not at the same level as human beings, can feel these things, can feel what you're carrying in your heart, human beings can feel it too, right? Think of the time when you have walked into a room when people are fighting or two people are having an argument and they just stop right before you walked in. You can sense the energy. You may not know what they were talking about. You may not even have heard them talk. We all have these innate capacity as human beings to sense energies. We pick up things unconsciously. So rest assured, the other person, in fact, may not know your thoughts, but they can feel your thoughts unconsciously. And so, if you can do that, what it does for you is it creates a whole new reality for you. When you just assume that the other person can read your thoughts, you approach that conversation with a completely different vibration, energy, and mindset. If you think this is too woo-woo and it's not scientific, science is just catching up with what you and I may call as woo-woo. The recent podcast that I heard by Dr. Donald Hoffman, he's the professor at UCLA, and he's been researching consciousness for a while now, like since the 90s. And he goes on to say that most of the things that we hold on to as scientifically fundamental are not. For example, space-time is not fundamental. Einstein's entire work came out of the assumption that space-time is the fundamental reality and the fabric of the universe. Turns out it's not, right? Consciousness, on the other hand, is fundamental. So what does that say? It only goes on to corroborate what we've been saying. How we feel inside, our thoughts. Our thoughts are not just mere clouds in the air as you would read in a comic strip. Our thoughts are objects of very subtle nature. Subtle nature, like Wi-Fi. It's subtle, you can't touch it, but on your phone you can see the signals, can't you? It's the same way, our thoughts are subtle. And as human beings, you and I have the power to tap into the feelings of the thoughts. We have that innate nature. It's unconscious. I may not know exactly what you're thinking word by word, but I can sense your vibration. I can feel it. All right. And if you think that this is too woo-woo, wait for a couple of years and you'll be laughing alone, because most of the people will begin to understand by testing it out for themselves. This is happening, and it's happening right now. So if you are still finding yourself socially anxious, it's as easy as this. Switch how you look at the world, and the world will appear different to you. And what a beautiful way of looking at things. If the other person can look into your heart, would you consider having that strange, silly, less than positive thought or feeling towards them or toward yourself? All the best, and test this out. Test it out. Test. And let me know how it went. Take care.